In this episode, we are diving into part 2 of our series on social selling. And yes, we are keeping it tactical, bringing it right down to earth, keeping it tactical and also super fun, where we will be walking you through a case study. And by we, I mean myself and my brilliant client, Eva Jannotta, will be walking you through a case study of how she has used her own brand of social selling to grow her cash, influence, and autonomy. Let's dive into our mini virtual boot camp on hosting virtual roundtables to grow your business this year. So here's the question. In a world where the rules of business have been written by men, how do women entrepreneurs like us, women who want to make millions of dollars and impact millions of lives, how do we create enormous success on our terms? That's the question, and this show explores the answers. Welcome to Power Presence Position. I'm your host, Eleanor Beaton, and I'm on a mission to double the number of women entrepreneurs who generate over $1 million per year in annual revenue. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and leadership coach. I'm a wife, mom of 2 boys, and I'm the CEO of a 7-figure business. Stick around because on this show, you'll learn how to think, communicate, and get paid like a 7-figure CEO. Let's go. All right, welcome back to Power Presence Position, episode number 442. So this is a very exciting episode because I get to share 2 of my favorite things. So favorite thing number 1 is a woman who stands in her power, who does her own damn thing in her own damn way. Like, I can't even tell you how much that inspires me. So those of y'all who are showing up on social media in your own way, who are running your businesses in your own way, who are innovating, who are creating, who are iterating, I honor you. Like, you inspire me so much because I really think as women entrepreneurs who are shifting the narrative about what it looks like to build a successful business with cash, influence, and autonomy, I think a big way that we do that is by disrupting norms, by challenging the status quo, and doing it in that deeply feminine way of creation and creating. Okay. So number 1, a woman doing her own damn thing in her own damn way. And number 2, another favorite thing, of course, are my incredible clients, our incredible clients. So if you have been in any of our programs, you know that there's something powerful and special going on. You know, I don't know, it's this energetic thing. That is really, I think, created by that unique combination of the work and the mission, the incredible team that we have at Safi Media, and the powerhouse women who come together to learn and grow together. So I just love having the opportunity to highlight our clients through case studies and really taking things that they're slaying at and providing really good, high value, useful tutorials for you. So 2 of my favorite things. And of course, we're doing this in the context of social selling. So social selling is, drumroll, a super hot trend in the world of sales and marketing right now. And if you are the kind of person who puts air quotes around super hot trend, and not only you're the type of person who puts air quotes around it, when you hear the words super hot trend strung together in that order, you feel both curious and also you kind of want to cringe, then you're listening to the right podcast, okay? So social selling is absolutely a big deal. In episode 441, I explain what it is and really walk you through how to do it. Plus, I kind of take you behind the scenes a little bit and share how we use it in our business. But today I wanted to present another great case study. And the reason that I'm presenting case studies of how to do social selling is because I don't want to teach you step by step how to regurgitate from A to Z somebody else's success. Anytime we as coaches know that anytime we're telling you what to do, we're coaching you in that frame of action. What we're actually doing is lying and saying we can take away some of the struggle. No, we don't do that for a couple of different reasons. Number 1, that's why you see so many cookie cutter businesses out there. Number 2, Our people hate that. They want to do their own thing. They want to create and innovate. And number 3, you were put on this earth to create a business that only you can create. So on this show and in our programming, we want to inspire you with possibilities. We want to share useful fundamentals for you to get started. We want to share case studies that will inspire you. Here's how somebody else is doing this. How can you use that experience to create, combine that with your experience to create something new that people haven't done before or that you haven't done before? We want to bring this to you and then sit back and see what you create from that place. That's what we want. That's what we are here to do, right? That's what makes us different and this show different and our coaching different. And examples are a great way to do it. So when Eva Jannotta and I were talking about her coming on the show and what we talk about, I was just like, can you please talk about these incredible virtual roundtables that you do? So let me tell you about Eva Jannotta. I met her a few years ago. She came to a retreat I was doing in Arizona. God, that was a super fun retreat. She was a guest at a retreat I did at Arizona. And we've since worked together over the past few years in different capacities. And she's a really valuable client to us for a couple of different reasons. Number one, because of what she contributes to the group in terms of fresh thinking and new ideas. But also for me personally, we're kind of simpatico, Eva and I, and you'll hear that in our conversation. She is a thought leadership advisor and the founder of Simply Put Strategies. And she really works with women on their thought leadership, women particularly who are leading in the women helping women economy. And so, she and I, there's a lot of alignment there. We like to talk shop. But the other reason that I really like her is because I just love me a contrarian, like somebody who does things in her way, someone who's highly creative. That's Eva, and you'll hear it on the show. So go check her out online. But first, definitely make sure that you're listening to this interview because I think you're going to pick up some really cool tips or tactics that you might try in your business to start generating leads, building meaningful relationships, and growing your dang company at the same time. So I want you to pay attention to something. So when we think about social selling, and specifically when you look at how Eva has innovated her own way of creating virtual roundtables to grow her audience, to build a network of like-minded women entrepreneurs who can refer business to one another, and all the incredible things that has really enabled in her own company from that place of alignment, what she's actually doing, that idea of building a virtual roundtable series, that is her way. She did that in her way. She innovated that. But it's really part of a milestone that we teach in the incubator. So in the incubator, we are all about building the foundation of a 7-figure business. And the foundation of a 7-figure business that you truly love is asset creation. So you are building the assets that can scale simply so that you actually have a business you want to grow. I have coached enough of y'all to know that the reason you're not growing your business is because for you, growing your business would mean more complexity, more headaches. You don't quite know how to get off that treadmill. And the answer is by creating assets, so that you have a business that grows through its assets, not through your hustle. And so one of those assets that we show you how to build in your own way inside the incubator is what we call a 6-figure audience growth system. So this is a system that we help provide the fundamentals. We sort of show you we provide like a blueprint, and then you take that and make it your own, right? So we're teaching you the fundamentals, and then you're taking that and making it your own. Just like if you went to a couturier school, they would teach you the fundamentals of excellent garment design. And then as the Givenshys of the world, the Alexander McQueens of the world, they take those fundamentals and they layer their flair on top of it. Because we don't want to produce Walmart. We don't want to produce JCPenney. We don't want to produce J. Crew. You, my dear, are Givenchy. You are Alexander McQueen. You are Yves Saint Laurent. You are Stella McCartney, right? That's what we want to be, have a part in getting out into the world, those visionaries. And so we do that in our programming by really creating that structure. And so there's these structural assets and pieces, and that when you have those in place, boom, now you're really unlocking the true potential. So the 6-figure audience growth system, everybody's looks different. So a big part of what Eva's sharing with you today is creating a system that she loves, that works for her, that plays to her strengths, and that is just fun and awesome. Right. And so that's what that is. And these are milestones that we have inside the incubator. Now, we will be talking about it a little bit in the course of the conversation. Is going to come up. And typically, you know, the women who are coming into the incubator, they're a little bit more advanced in their entrepreneurial career. Like we want, which doesn't mean you have to have 5 years of experience under your belt. Some people are starting with their businesses, but typically we like people to have completed power presence position first. There's a lot of strong women leaders in that group who are operating at a high level. And when you go through power presence position, that really ensures that you have the right foundation in place. But if you do have a foundation in place and you are looking to grow through assets, not hustle, the incubator is a great choice for you. So if you want more details on the program and to apply, because we go through an application process for you to come in just to make sure that it's a really good fit for both parties, go to incubatormastermind.com. So get your buttons to incubatormastermind.com, check it out, fill in the application, and then we'll follow up with next steps. All right. So without further ado, let's bring in Eva Jannotta and let's talk about social selling part 2, how to grow your cash, influence, and autonomy with virtual roundtables. Let's go. Eva Jannotta, welcome to Power Presence Position.
Eleanor, thank you.
So here's a really skill testing question for you. Will you shake your booty for Mark Zuckerberg, yes or no?
Eleanor, no, I will not. Thank you very much.
So for those of you who don't know what the hell we're talking about, you need to get your booty back to episode 427, where I went on a little bit of a rant about Instagram and Reels and how a lot of mostly male programmers create all this stuff that involves women dancing on screen. Imagine that. And so anyway, Eva and I really connected around that topic. So Eva, here's the deal. We have known each other for several years now, and I first connected with you online. You bought a ticket to an event that I was hosting in Phoenix.
Yes.
And we kind of got connected. And I remember it was so interesting because there were people there that I didn't know beforehand. You were one of them. But when you walked into the room, I felt that I knew you because of how you engaged and conversed on social. So I wanted to kick this off by asking you, do you like social media?
I have 2 answers, which is yes and no.
Say more.
Yeah. So I suppose that everyone can relate to this, that there are some aspects of it that we really appreciate and enjoy and others that we might find really off-putting. And that is how I feel. On the one hand, I appreciate the ability to easily stay connected with people, family members in particular, folks, who live in other places that I wouldn't otherwise easily be able to keep tabs on. And I really like the communication function, particularly, and I think we'll get into this later, the private communication function. So DMs specifically. So direct messaging folks. So I also like that you can share ideas and have like public discussions that people can, dip in and out of. It's really good for facilitating that. So those are the things about social media that I like. And social media marketing is my background. But what has dawned on me over time, and social media is a teenager, right? Like social media is young. And we can see such a tremendous amount of change over the past 15 years. And I foresee that continuing. But what has dawned on me is that I don't typically enjoy how I feel when I am using social media.
Yeah, you're like, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm like 1,000 pounds overweight. I'm supremely unsuccessful, really smart, and have no fun at all. Or is that just me?
Speaking for, I don't know who, someone.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. Like I would
What's up with that?
I started noticing, I would like open Instagram to do a specific task. And then it would be what felt like too many minutes later. And I felt like garbage about everything in my life.
Yeah.
And I just like felt this yuck, this heaviness. And the same would happen to me on other social media networks. And I found the degree to which they have become performative, to which they have become about kind of a means to their own end. Like the goal seems to be just metrics, whether or not those metrics are truly valuable and competitive. And to your point, Eleanor, this compare and despair that social media is designed to breed. It's designed to be addictive. And I object to that on principle. And I also object to feeling lousy when I use it.
Yeah. And this is so cool. And I think this is where we really want to take this, but I do think it's so important to acknowledge, especially anybody who works with women, as I do, as you do. Right. It's this idea that I think it's a very common experience for people to have had at some point that this week, potentially a weird experience of going through social media, seeing, the best parts of people's lives, and feeling less than. And so I think there's a huge amount of self-management if you want to use a tool that can open up so much opportunity, that can allow people to connect and engage without having to travel, especially today. Like there's so many benefits, but I agree. I think it's designed. One is the design itself, but the other is how we need to manage ourselves if we're going to engage in it at all. If we're going to engage in it at all. So let's talk through a couple of principles, because one of the things about Eva, which I love, and you're in the incubator program and just an incredible entrepreneur in that program. And one of the things, in our conversations and in our community that I love and so value what you contribute is really this idea of contrarianism. You know what I mean? And so this idea, right, of like, here's what everybody's doing. And then Eva, it's like, here's what you think about it, but not just that, here's what you're creating to make it work for you. And I think like, that's the power of autonomy, and creation. Like, look, I get that people are doing it this way. I'm going to use it this way. So one of the first things that really came through, in work. So I saw you started to write about this on your LinkedIn feeds. I've seen you talking about this, in our community. It's this concept of social media monogamy. So at a time where everybody feels they have to be on all the platforms, you have said, not this queen. We're going to practice social media monogamy. So can you tell us, what is it and why did you decide this was right for you?
Yes. So first off, one thing that has been a benefit of being in the incubator program that I did not anticipate is the degree of support I've received from you and the other coaches to pursue my contrarian path.
We're like, do it.
Yeah. And it's very important to get that kind of validation. I mean, you can have a great self-trusting relationship with yourself, but you're still surrounded by unsolicited advice about how you should do things. And so it makes a tremendous difference to have other strong women leaders who have your back and say, yes, just to hear it from someone who's not yourself is really important. So I really appreciate that. And, one of the pieces of advice that I've heard again and again from women leaders I follow, such as yourself and Allie Brown and others, is that when they zig, you zag. And when we were turning, like the clock was turning into a new decade of 2020, LOL, look what happened.
Oh my God, I know, if we only knew.
But I was thinking, where is everyone else going and how can I not do that? What's the opposite of that? And it came to me that everyone's social mediaing, 360-degree marketing. And not only could I do the opposite of that out of principle because zigging and zagging, but doing the opposite felt so much better to me, like so much more appealing and aligned and exciting. And so what social media monogamy is exactly what it sounds like. You choose one social media network and you do that exceptionally well rather than trying to pander to all the different algorithms and changes and needs of these multiple networks you can choose from.
So powerful. And so this has really been something that you have adopted and practiced. Can you share a little bit about how you practice social media monogamy, like what that looks like in your business right now?
Yes. So one of the first questions people often ask, well, which channel should I choose? And my answer to that is you should choose one that you don't hate. I think it's really important that you like it.
Exactly. So true.
And that your clients use it.
Yeah.
So that's beneficial and strategic for your business. And for me, that choice was very obvious. It's LinkedIn. And that could change in the future, but for now, this is the lane that I'm in. And so for me, what that means is I don't even look at the other social media networks. I just look at LinkedIn, and I try to be very strategic and focused and purposeful in how I use it. It's a very powerful tool, not just for marketing. In fact, I think marketing is kind of the icing on the cake of the relationship building you can do on LinkedIn. The way you can nurture people, the way you can share ideas and just have conversations that, pay dividends down the line. So on a day-to-day way, I get onto LinkedIn multiple times a day. I don't even have accounts on the other networks. I don't have them on my phone. I just use
baller. I love that. That's so baller. It's totally baller, just not to even like, I still have a Facebook account. I still have the other accounts. I don't really go on them very much, but I think it's baller to full commit. We're not. And I can't even
tell you like how much joy and satisfaction it gives me to just opt out.
Yes.
No, I'm not doing that. And for a long time, I was doing that thing that game that's easy to play, which is like, well, I'll stay there because Facebook groups and like blah, blah, blah. But no. So LinkedIn. So I use LinkedIn multiple times a day. I use it to disseminate my own thought leadership. That's part of it. I use it to promote the work of my clients. But what I use it for most is to connect with people.
Okay. So let's break that down, because I think that's where, so this conversation is where it's part of a series that we're doing on this concept of social selling. And yes. Again, I think like we are really taking a contrarian view a little bit of social selling, that there's a lot of quote unquote best practices, but really the best practice is the one that you do that works for you, right?
You commit to.
That you commit to, that you want to do. So let's talk about this idea of, because I think this idea of, disseminating thought leadership is effective, promoting the work of your clients, and then building relationships and connecting. So can you share a little bit sort of behind the scenes of how you use LinkedIn to connect with people?
Yes. So anytime I meet anyone on, these days it's all on Zoom or through email introductions, I reach out to them on LinkedIn and I tell them, who I am. I remind them who I am. I always use the, write a personalized notes feature, let them know how we connected. I typically, if they respond, we'll start messaging a little bit to get to know each other. If they feel like a good fit for, the kind of person that I want to engage more deeply with, I'll invite them onto one of my Women Leader Roundtable sessions, which we can talk about. And then beyond that, it's just checking in regularly. So I have a list, it's on a very sexy spreadsheet of people who I'm interested in. And I have links to their LinkedIn profiles, and I click on them and I see what they've shared lately. And I see if I want to read it, or if I want to comment on it, or what I can contribute, or if it reminds me of someone else with whom I was just talking about that, so I can make that connection. So I use LinkedIn to, I think about paying it forward in the relationships I'm building there. How can I give here? How can I make this person feel heard and seen for the work that they're doing? I also have a practice I enjoy where every Friday I do a Follow Friday post where I just list out usually it's 4 or 5 people that I connected with that week. And that's been really fun because I can tag them, I can tag the person who introduced us, and I can take a moment to reflect on who did I talk to? How amazing it is that I got to talk to these, 5 excellent people, and that these 5 other people introduced us. And we have now this micro community, yes, in this LinkedIn post I'm making, but also just in our lives of these connections that are building and compounding.
Amazing. And what I love about, so I just want to kind of point out, and we know each other well. And so I get the benefit of, hearing through what you do and just kind of observing from my perspective, how I see it showing up, and also things that I think are so effective about it. So one of the things, and we talked about this beforehand, is this idea that you have talked about how sometimes social media, like posting on social media, can feel like the work when it's not really. And so I think it's like this idea of, okay, so let's use these platforms to connect with people, to build our networks. And then we do have businesses. And so how can we, in our way, intelligently and strategically make sure that we're using these connection points and we're using this time that we invest on these social platforms to actually generate return, to ensure that people know about us. And one of the things that I find you are so excellent at doing is this ability to kind of contribute value and also kind of link it back very directly to the work that you do. So it's like this reminder, hey, this is what I do.
Yes.
Hey, I did this work with a client, and it's just very simple, but it's like I think that intention of, guys, you're not only there to socialize. Like there is this place where you've got to bring it home for yourself, and connect the dots that very clearly that people see, oh yeah, that's what Eva does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something I say to myself and my clients often is that social media is a tool. And in order to use a tool, you have to be building something. You have to be creating something. And so, you don't use like pliers for like the fun of using pliers, right? You use it because you're creating something. And so the same is true on social media. And like you just said, the discipline that I would try to have with myself is, how can I build a bridge between the conversation that's happening here, this person that I'm speaking to, and what I offer? Not in like a Yankee way, but like just building that bridge, making that connection. That's where this tool is so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that's where so many people can forget to bring it home for themselves. And then they might think, well, social media marketing doesn't work for me. And like, I've been out there, I've been posting my stuff, I've been connecting with people, and it's like, yeah, but are you bringing it home? Like, are you closing that final loop? And sometimes that final ask or that final connection point can feel awkward for people for different reasons, or they don't want to do it. But that's where the, so much richness lies. So let's kind of break this down. So, and one of the things I think is fascinating here for everyone listening is not only the tips and tactics, and I love them because they're doable. They're totally doable for so many women entrepreneurs to do. I think so many people listening can see themselves doing this, right? And sort of, so there's what you're doing, but then there's also the creativity and innovation in being like, I know that there's 50,000 different things I could do, but I'm going to create some things here. So step one was, look, I am going to say it's the power of no. So I'm going to opt out. I'm recognizing I don't like the way I feel spending too much time on social media. So that's recognition. Then it's like, okay, what do I need to do? I'm going to opt out. I'm going to choose one social platform. You've taken us through. You're going to check in multiple times a day. You're active on it. You're going to connect with people. You're going to showcase your work. You're going to showcase your clients. You might do a follow Friday as a way to, like build more people in. And then as you connect with people, you're going to invite them into your women leader roundtables. And I was so dang excited when you told me about this because I was like, wait, what? It was just like kind of glossing over them. I'm like, wait, what are these? And so tell us what they are. Like, what is your women's leader roundtable? Tell us about them.
Okay. So this is my favorite. I'm so glad you asked.
All right. I know.
So let me take you on a little journey. So last year, actually before the pandemic kicked off, I was invited to a roundtable by my colleague, Aisha Cogborn. And she sent me a LinkedIn message, a DM, and she kind of outlined what this experience was. It was a 90-minute conversation with me and her and a few other entrepreneurs. And I was very, very skeptical.
Contrarians always are skeptical right off the bat. We're always like, what is this? What?
Yeah, like eyebrow raise.
Yeah.
And I thought about, and I think about this often, Eleanor, but you've in the past talked about the tyranny of the coffee date.
Oh,
and I thought, is this going to be one of those situations? But I really like Aisha, and I thought, okay, let's go for it. And it was such a nurturing and intimate experience. It exceeded all of my low expectations. And what it was is a loosely facilitated conversation about business. And so it was me and a couple others on Zoom. Aisha had a slideshow. She had like a slide deck of like 4 slides, which each one had a question. We took turns answering, and it ended up being this really rich discussion about where we could reflect on the questions for ourselves. We could hear from others. We could get new ideas and ask each other questions. And I walked out of there feeling so enriched in a way that I very seldom do after networking. You know, like even before we went through a period of pandemic, like networking, the options felt to me like, well, it's a dark, crowded cocktail bar, or it's a luncheon where I'm trying to eat a salad and talk to 2 people next to me and listen to the presenter and just do too many things. And the experience that I wanted to have when I connect with people is an intimate, like experience that feels one-on-one. But one-on-one is so not leverageable and can be kind of awkward if you just don't click with the person and then you're kind of stuck with them. So this felt like the perfect middle ground. It was an intimate community, but it was a couple of us. So we could have, you know, a conversation with a lot of give and take. And I was learning something and I was reflecting and I was enriching these relationships. So I started doing the same thing. It felt so good to me. And I thought, this is how I want to meet people. I don't want to just have a wide network. I want to have a deep network of people that I really know them. I've really had a conversation with this person. I really know what they do and who to refer to them and how they can help others. So I started hosting them myself. And it was very awkward at first. I set up some time blocks using Calendly, and I had them at all different, I tried having some on Saturdays. That totally failed. I had them at different times of day. That was kind of confusing for me to remember. And I started just by inviting people that I already knew and that I liked. And I thought, ooh, it'd be fun to talk to these folks more. And there was a part of me that was very nervous to send out these invitations because I remembered how skeptical I felt when I received the invitation.
Yeah.
And I had some fear of rejection or fear of bothering people come up. But what has blown me away and been so gratifying is people love these conversations. The women that join me, I get such glowing feedback during the conversation, via email afterward. You know, not everyone I invite says yes, but most of them do. And most of them love this experience.
Amazing. It's so exciting. Okay. So let's walk through. So there were some growing pains at first.
Yes.
And again, even simple things, there's a lot of details involved in them, you know? And so I just want to put that out to people. So there's growing pains at first, and then you kind of get your system down. So tell me about how they work now. Let's really walk through it in detail. So somebody who's listening can, you know, so first of all, if you're listening and you want to be invited to one of Eva's Women Leaders Roundtables, you should connect with her on LinkedIn, Eva Jannotta.
Holla at the girl.
Right. Holla, and then let her know. But walk us through the process of how you do these now that you've really got your system and the whole experience down.
Yeah. So first, like I said, I was inviting people that I already knew. And I had a slide deck with a couple of questions on each slide that we'd all take turns answering. So the first set of questions is kind of like, tell us about your business, you know, tell us where you live. And then this is my favorite actually, is I ask everyone to share something surprising about them. And the things that come out of that question are so hilarious.
I can imagine.
One woman had like a pet iguana that she was telling about. I mean, really unexpected stuff. And this is part of what adds like a lot of dimension to these conversations is you wouldn't otherwise find out in a normal networking situation that this woman had a pet iguana. And that makes people memorable and it gives them depth.
Yeah.
So that's the first set of questions. The second set of questions is around thought leadership and how women are amplifying their voices, because I realized that I'm doing research as I'm holding these conversations. I'm getting a lot of information from these lovely women, and I can perhaps publish that in a report someday. I can use that to inform decisions I make in my own business. Mm-hmm. So that's the second set of questions. And that could be geared towards, whatever anyone does, they can shape those questions however they want to. But
I think that's smart because that's Eva's, that's your area, really helping women leaders develop and advance their thought leadership, advance and amplify that thought leadership. So
precisely.
Really cool. So again, we want to keep it focused, guys. We want to keep it focused. Love that.
Yes. So there's just like 3 sets. It's like intro questions that I'm personally interested about and I think are valuable for women to discuss. And then the final questions are really important. And this is where everyone has the opportunity to make an ask. So the questions are, what do you need right now? And how can we support you? And sometimes the answers are very specific, like a woman's promoting something and she wants some help. Or sometimes they're more abstract, like, she wants feedback on something. But I realized pretty quickly that the ask that I needed to make was for my guests to introduce me to other women in their network to join a roundtable conversation. So in doing that and making that my ask as the host, I'm constantly exponentially growing my network of women leaders who would be interested in having this kind of a connection with me, who want to connect deeply and not just, have a wide network. So after that, I send all my guests, I have a templated follow-up email, which with a short bio and description of what the series is. So it's easy for them to copy and paste it into an introduction to someone they know. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I mentioned that I have Calendly, which is how people can sign up for a date and time that they like. And I send that. I have another templated invitation that I send. So there are some templates at play. There's a calendar, scheduling tool. But what's been really powerful is this consistent ask I'm making to leverage these women's networks to grow my own.
Yeah, that's just so amazing. Okay. So a couple of details. How long are these roundtables typically? What have you determined to be kind of the ideal length of time?
Yeah, so they're scheduled for 90 minutes. Okay. And usually that's plenty of time. We often wrap, 10 or 15 minutes early. I do keep my eye on the clock as the facilitator to make sure, every now and then there's some chatty Cathys who I need to kind of rein in. But usually the conversations flow really well. One of the things that's been so surprising about this is, people sign up for dates and times that work for them. And so I'm not manipulating who's going to show up on a certain day. It's a total surprise.
Oh, cool.
So it's just, so there's some spontaneity there. And the chemistry that ends up building among these group of essentially strangers is really exciting. And there have been some instances where the chemistry has been a little off, but 9 times out of 10, it's incredibly, it's there. It just builds over the course of these 90 minutes. So so they're 90 minutes. And at first I was inviting 3 guests to join me at a time. Mm-hmm. But, people have scheduling things happen. And there were a few instances where only 1 or 2 showed up. And that's not the experience I want to offer. Yep. So now I'm inviting 4 women to join me. Mm-hmm. And that so far felt like a pretty good manageable size.
Got it. So you're going to end up with 5, maybe 4 people, if one can't come. Okay. So I love that. And have you found there's a time of day or a day that works best for you?
Yes. I mean, for me, again, the theme that's come up again is I don't want to do anything I hate, right?
That's right. Me too. I've got to love it or it's just not happening.
Right. So for me, I prefer to have them in the afternoon. I live in Arizona, which is a weird place because we don't do daylight savings. So our time zone changes compared to everyone else.
Yes.
So I will say, it's not, I have it at the same day of the week, same time of day every week. That's best for me at this time. Yeah. That does mean that it's hard to accommodate people, overseas, in very different time zones. That's something I'd like to be able to invite women in Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia. I haven't figured out how to make that happen yet. So for now, again, I've had to coach myself a couple of times not to overcomplicate this for myself. Mm-hmm. For this to be sustainable, it has to be pretty easy. And one of the ways that's pretty easy is to just set a calendar, a one time of day, 1 time a week, and not have to think about it.
Yeah. Well, okay. And then the sort of to wrap up the loop on this Women Leaders Roundtables, which I just think is just such a cool just a cool tool, like a great way to do it essentially. So my question is, what impact has this had on you personally and on your business? Mm-hmm. And finally on the women who you are bringing together in this way?
Yeah. So I'll answer in order. So for me, I find these conversations so energizing. And yeah, sometimes, the time rolls around and I'm feeling a little bit like I don't want to be on. But as soon as I get into the room, I am so energized by like this. I'm hammering this point home because as a kind of outgoing introvert, which is the type of person that I tend to attract as well, this is the exact kind of way I like to connect with others. I want it to be intimate. I want it to be small. I get overwhelmed when there are big groups. So this just for me is such a perfect way to essentially make new friends is how it often feels. So personally, it's been very gratifying for the relationship building aspect, which I love. For my business, it's been remarkable for just growing my network, getting new leads and new clients, because now more people truly know what I do.
And you don't have to jam it into an elevator pitch. No. You know what I mean? They can really have the opportunity to know what you do, build that trust, to be willing to refer you, to hire you themselves. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we know like when it comes to social selling, like if you're recommended something by your best friend or a stranger on Instagram, what are you going to, like the answer to it's like a no-brainer. And we'd all like to have that quality of relationship to refer us to others and to be able to refer people we know and trust to those who need them in our communities. And we can't have one-on-one conversations with everyone who's interesting, but this is a way to make that more plausible, to really make that intimate and trusting start to a relationship that you can't get on Instagram, on social media, via email. It's just not quite the same as really spending 90 minutes with another person.
Yeah. Amazing.
So for my business, growing my network, it's grown my email list. That's another change I made when I was setting up my invitations. I give everybody the option to opt into my list. That, about 75% of them do opt in. So that helps me grow my list and stay in touch with these folks without having to do it one-on-one.
Yes.
Other results and impact that have come to me and to my guests include, podcast speaking opportunities, guest swapping has gone on, virtual speaking events for women who are hosting events and asking for speaker referrals, collaborative webinars, accountability partners. Some women have asked for feedback, so they've gotten feedback from others in the community, client referrals. There are probably many others that I'm not aware of because again, in the interest of not making this too challenging for myself, I don't have like a follow-up or a way I'm measuring the results. I wanted to make it really organic, but I know from the women who have happened to mention to me like, oh, like Maggie and I just had a webinar together last week. We met, a couple weeks ago on your roundtable. That wouldn't have happened if that connection hadn't been made at first. And that is delightful to me.
And I just feel, that there's something bigger here too. Like, I just kind of feel that there's going to be a place where you look back and you see that it was creating the Women Leaders Roundtables, making that decision to take a very organic approach to your marketing, starting to build these communities, like legit intimate communities of women. I just feel that there's something bigger here at play, that there's just something building that you probably can't even see yet, the impact,
Well, from your mouth to the goddess's ear, Eleanor.
Exactly. So I love this. And I think, there's something here that is sort of underneath all of this. And it's the courage to, like the real courage to create, to sort of listen to ourselves, to spit in the face of the status quo, to create something, to think, what do I want? Like, how do I like to network? What environments work best for me? And then how can I create that? And I think that's the final thing, because I think a lot of people are stuck in the awareness, you know what? I just don't feel like I can make it on social media. And it's like, okay, girlfriend, then what are you going to do instead? Because anybody can stay in that place of not liking it, feeling like they don't fit in there, that it doesn't work for them. Maybe it works for other people, but not for them. And then it's what are you going to do about it? And how are you going to create something that works for you? And there's something else here that I think is really interesting, which is the willingness to do things that aren't at massive scale, and so it's like, look, you are doing your roundtables on a weekly basis. It's like 4 women at a time, 4 women at a time. 4 women. It's not like 400 women on a webinar. It's 4 women in conversation with one another week after week after week. So guys who are listening, I want you to see there's so many ways that you can market your business your way. You can build it your way in a way that only you can build it. Right. Yes. Can you kind of speak to a little bit of that, how you developed the willingness to do it your way, to create?
Yeah, it's really good to hear that reflected back from you, Eleanor, because that is exactly how I felt for a long time. Is I just felt like it wasn't, the options available to me weren't the right fit. And I really am unwilling to force myself into a mold that feels bad.
Yeah.
And
which is like a superpower, by the way.
Thank you.
It is.
Well, like you've mentioned awareness a few times. That's been really key. I mean, I joke that there's nothing like entrepreneuring to like give you a real trip through your own psyche. Mm-hmm. And, part of that has been building my own awareness of I feel resentful towards this. Okay, that means something. Or like, I hate doing this. I really am. I mean, I know like ideally you're motivated like by moving towards something positive, but I'm very often motivated by getting the hell away from something negative.
I love it. Yeah. Well, I'll share, so I always used to have in the incubator, which is a group that you're a part of. So this is just, it's a powerful coaching program that I run. And for me, it's always been about bringing women entrepreneurs together and working with them to really create businesses that deliver cash, influence, and autonomy. So it's not just about the money, it's about the influence. And so influence looks different. Maybe influence is your best-selling book. Maybe influence is having the space to create a top-ranked podcast. Maybe influence is being the person who week after week organizes gatherings of thought leaders. So there's so many different ways. And that creates autonomy. And the autonomy is the freedom to have time and to do things our way. And so I started feeling, so we always had a Facebook community as part of the group.
Right.
And any woman who runs communities of women, I think as the leader of that community, it's really important that you're thinking about, hey, what serves the community? What doesn't? Where do we want to be investing our time? Like, where are we going to do a ton of work to really create a great experience? And where is it more of, and where don't we want to? And for me, having a Facebook community or any kind of online community is like one of those conventions that you are supposed to have if you have
Absolutely.
Right? And I was like, I freaking hate that. I do not want to spend any more time in online communities. Guess what? Let's talk. Let's come together and talk on a Zoom call or on a, let's actually use, so we just shut it down. Shut it down.
I was thrilled, by the way. I remember I wrote you and I was like, Eleanor, yes.
And I was like, thank you. Because I mean, even though I was like, this is my decision, I'm sticking with it. We're doing this. But I was also like, I just wasn't sure how it was going to go over. But in general, it was really powerful. But what's so interesting about that, and this kind of gets back to this idea of social media monogamy, this is a different kind of monogamy. So in doing that, I made the decision that we were going to invest our attention and our focus in our coaching and in our community gatherings, like where we're actually gathering as a community. And that's where we would really focus. And so we just had our very first 2-day retreat. It was a virtual retreat. We had our very first one after shutting down the Facebook group. And I actually think it was the best one that we've ever had. And I was debriefing it with the team and we were like, why is that? Well, there was more kind of thought, there was more time. There's just that ability to have more focus because I think a big part of that was we weren't distracted by having to manage a Facebook community, because you actually do need to manage them.
Yeah.
You do kind of need to, like, if you're going to be there, as a leader, there's always got to be intention. So yeah, it was neat. So I just really encourage anyone who's listening, social media offers so many opportunities that are so positive, but we need to approach those tools with so much intention. I think what Eva has just outlined, both her approach to social media marketing generally, and also this tool of Women Leaders Roundtables, which I think a lot of y'all who are listening can modify and take this as inspiration in your own businesses. I would encourage you to connect with Eva and attend one of those Women Leaders Roundtables so you can experience what that's like too, right? I mean, I think they just should.
Absolutely. I mean, I know I've been waxing eloquent about them all this time, but they're really, they're so enriching for me. And, when it comes to thinking about like how I had the willingness or the courage to start them off, I mean, we talked about they were very awkward at first. And I started by inviting my friends, so people that I felt comfortable with. And I built my confidence as I got better at perfecting the offer. But it's just, I got to that point that you described, Eleanor, with the just no on the Facebook group, where I just thought, like, I'm not, this is my business. Like, why would I do anything that makes me feel bad?
Yeah.
That I really resent. And I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted these relationships. And so, and I didn't invent this idea, right? Like I was invited to one, I modified it to suit myself. And so I think part of it was, that the idea coming to me at the right time, the being introduced to the concept of at the right time. Turns out it's also COVID approved, which was really convenient. Couldn't have planned that better.
That's right.
I tried, but I would just like, I encourage myself all the time. And, being in the incubator really helps with this, to like pay attention to what I feel and what I desire, like the experiences that I want to have. And then like, it's sort of like I have to just let myself imagine them, because at first I thought like, oh, these are not very leveraged. They're a little bit leveraged, but they're not very leveraged. And I felt some doubt about that, but they made me feel so good. And I figured out ways to leverage them more. And like you said, Eleanor, I'm not doing this for leverage. I mean, that's like a side benefit. I'm doing this because of what it makes me feel and the value it delivers to others. And that's how I want to be as a business person and as a marketer and as a creator of experiences, is I want them to be experiences that I would want to have.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, there's something underneath this as well, which is this idea of entrepreneurial confidence. And so there is definitely there's times in our businesses where it really is important to do things that make us feel really uncomfortable, and that's how we sort of start to develop our instincts. It's how we develop situational awareness and all of that. But I also think that if you're not aware, if you don't start owning what you want and owning the type of experience that you want to have as an entrepreneur, your experience is always divorced from who you actually are. And it becomes very difficult to develop true confidence as an entrepreneur. And there's research out there that suggests that, surprise, surprise, like a woman who starts a business may be very confident in the skill, or the technical skill that's delivered through that business. So she has a copywriting business. She's really confident in her copywriting ability, but is very often much less confident in her ability to run and grow her company. And I think what we're addressing here, which is, guys, do it your way.
Yeah.
Give yourself the chance to do it your way without the critics saying this isn't leveraged, this isn't scalable. Well, guess what? Maybe you need to do it and invent a way to make it scalable.
For sure.
Once you know you like it,
Yeah. And the confidence that has come from, I mean, like I said, every time I get the positive feedback that part of me never expects, because there's always a part of me that's skeptical that everyone's going to hate it. But every time I get that positive feedback and I see how much value this experience is delivering, not just to me, but to others.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about like, I feel like the confidence that has given me compared to if I tried to shove myself in a mold of having an Instagram live show, which never felt appealing to me. Like I have gotten so much, I guess the word is confidence, and my self-trust has improved so much knowing that I wanted to do this and I could do it. And it's become much better than I ever expected.
Yeah. And it's just a part of what you do now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now it feels, very, very routine in a good way, not scary anymore, but exciting because I have many more ideas for how this could grow.
Yes. So exciting. Well, I so appreciate you coming on the show to talk through these strategies. And like I said, we haven't talked a lot about the work that Eva Jannotta does. She has a company, works with women, particularly those in the women helping women economy, but really works with women on developing and advancing their thought leadership and getting that out through social platforms. So please go ahead. I'll ask you in a moment where people can connect with you. But I just so I love contrarianism myself, and I love innovation and creativity. So I just really so appreciate how you are able your willingness to create a business that's a reflection of you, and to really kind of share how you're doing it and the strategies that you're doing. I think some people will be doing just straight up doing these roundtables, and I think other people will be inspired to dream up their own thing. So where can people go to learn more about the work that you do, to connect with you, to get an invite to one of these puppies?
Yes. Well, you've maybe heard that I use LinkedIn. So please find me there. I'm the only Eva Jannotta with my, 2 N's, 2 T's, my fully full of consonants Italian last name. So please find me, send me a note, let me know you heard me on the podcast. I'm such a Eleanor fan, and I would love to be. Anyone who listens to this show, I'm very confident is a terrific fit for the Women Leaders Roundtable.
100%.
They're invitation only, but invite yourself for me to invite you, basically.
Yeah. Raise your hand.
Raise your hand and let me know. I'd love to have you. And then you can also get in touch with me. I love correspondence. And so I have a free email course. It's called The 5 Pillars of Magnetic Thought Leadership.
Beautiful.
You can get it at number5magneticpillars.com. And it's a short course. And what I would encourage you to do when you sign up for it is to write me back, because I get all those messages and I love connecting with people. Writing is my love language. So write me a note and let's get to know each other.
Oh, I love it. So Eva Jannotta, 2 N's, 2 T's on LinkedIn, and 5 say it one more time.
5magneticpillars.com.
5magneticpillars.com, number 5. Thank you so much, Eva. We so appreciate you.
Eleanor, it's great to be here.
If you love this show, then you will love even more my missives, i.e. my emails. If you're not on my email list yet, I strongly encourage you to sign up at eleanorbeaton.com/join. Now, when you go and sign up for my email list, you will quickly discover why some of the most popular, well-known, and influential voices in the world of women's entrepreneurship quietly, studiously, consistently open every single email I send out, because they want to be inspired, they want to be entertained, and also I think they really want to connect with a woman like myself who's in full command of her voice and is willing to open up and share her thinking, her ideas, and her story. I promise you that on this email list, you are going to be entertained. You are going to hear really valuable tips about stepping into your power as a leader. And you're also going to get fun insight that I do not share anywhere else. Go to eleanorbeaton.com/join. And I promise you, it will be the highlight of your inbox.